Yeah, so the takeaway from that investigation is that the firefighting foam called AFFF was used for decades at Fairchild, and it ended up leaching something into the ground called PFOS-PFOA, potentially impacting thousands and thousands of people. So since that story aired, I've been keeping track of all of your reactions online, and I want you to kind of walk over here with me. I've been talking to a lot of people, many people saying they just can't believe there was that much contamination for that long and that we never knew. Other people saying, yeah, they're really not surprised at all. Most of all, though, everyone just wants to know what happens now.
So we are still identifying. We're going out there and expanding the area until we find wells that are completely non-detect. For the Airway Heights municipality, they came to an agreement up to nearly $750,000 for 440 million gallons for Airway Heights. The water that Airway Heights is using now, the Air Force is paying for that bill. With the residents, they're in the final stages right now of working out the legal agreement that's going to go between the resident and the Air Force so that a contractor can come in and put in those systems, which are unique for each household. I estimate that's probably going to be wrapped up in about the next 60 days, and that those residents from phase 1 and 2 will start to have new water filtration systems put into their house to help mitigate this.
Now, another big question we got was about contamination from this firefighting foam in other places. This was an email that I got asking why no one is mentioning the commercial airports, which is another place that AFFF was frequently used. It's a great question, and we did talk about that when this contamination first came to light in May. I did check with the Spokane Airport, and I learned over the last 20 years, the airport's fire and rescue department used less than 30 gallons of AFFF. I'm told it was usually over a paved surface, and that's a big difference. It was not the dirt like the old burn pit out at Fairchild. That being said, though, PFOS-PFOA was detected at 3 of 4 monitoring wells on airport property at higher levels than 70 parts per trillion. However, none of those wells are used for public drinking water. Now, as a former military base, the airport has long been established as a restoration site, and that is the responsibility of the Department of Defense. Okay, so now we know the groundwater there in Airway Heights is contaminated. It's been contaminated for years. So a lot of you wanted to know why the city was just flushing the bad water back out onto the ground during that contamination scare at the very beginning. It goes right back into the aquifer. So I talked to the Department of Ecology, and I'm told it didn't make one bit of difference because that groundwater is already contaminated. They weren't putting anything in the ground that wasn't already there. The real question now is, what is the long-term solution? And as the Colonel said today, that too is part of a conversation that is still being had. We are getting some Facebook comments now as we continue to go live here. One person says, I work on base. Should I be telling my employees not to drink anything that isn't bottled while working? What is the seriousness of the situation?
So if you work on base, those wells, our water system is independent from the Airway Heights. All of those wells have been tested, and we are in non-detect, so there are no issues on base.
What do we know about the contamination at this point, and could it interact with the Spokane aquifer or move considerably in the other aquifer, the Grand Ronde?
We're not finding anything west of the base. We're not finding anything south of the base. The initial phase 1 and phase 2 looks like it went off the base a little bit, and so it's to the east. We have areas to the north and to the northeast because the way the underground aquifer kind of flows towards Airway Heights, which would explain why the municipality was hit. I think what you're going to see in 6 months is we're going to get momentum. So the legal agreements are coming together, the framework, the understanding of where we are on the contamination is all starting to rapidly come together and give a decent picture. It doesn't mean we're out. This is a persistent chemical that's going to be around for a long, long time. So we're going to have to mitigate it by filtration systems and alternate water sources.
So I do thank the commander for being here today to answer our questions. He admits this is a lengthy process, but he invites anyone who has a private well or still has concerns about city water to reach out to the base. Again, he says it is a lengthy process, it's a complicated process, but the Air Force and certainly Fairchild are committed to finding solutions. In the studio tonight, Whitney Ward, Crime 2 News.